my garden. You can see where I'm challenged where space is concerned, so I have a container garden. Right here I have scallion. I have a number of pots of scallion. I have my callaloo. Over there I have sweet potato. However, this is basically a test. So the best place to plant sweet potato is in the ground, because what you reap here are small, very small potatoes. Over there I have my tomato and again another callaloo. An interesting callaloo. This is also callaloo. However, it's a different variety of callaloo. Similar like how you have the red cabbage, this is another variety of callaloo. In the pot I also have ginger. So in terms of spices, I am getting there. Over there I have my tuna, and tuna is a herb. And in terms of nutritional medicinal benefits, it's very good. Where cholesterol and those things is concerned, very good for you. Now in here I have my June plum. This is a miniature June plum and it does well in a little bath. Doesn't have to be outside in an open field. It does well in a bath, so I can just lean from outside, pick up some June plum to make some juice.
How long has this been?
This has been here for 2 years. This has been in the pan for 2 years. Now here I have corn. I have corn, and very soon I'll reap some corn. Next to my corn I have cauliflower. This is another vegetable that is also very important in your diet because it does well in terms of cancer fighting properties. It's very well. Now, nutrients is a substance that's found in food. And nutrients are what is responsible, are one of the main things that's responsible for the function of the body. It's responsible for your blood, it's responsible for your energy, it's responsible for everything that goes on in your body. The first thing I am going to talk about here is my sweet potato. And remember, as I said earlier on, you can grow it only in a pot when you want a little beanie one. You will get the maximum yield from out in the field. Now, the main sweet potato provides carbohydrate. It is a starchy food. It provides energy. Energy is what you need to do your daily activity. For instance, if a child has no energy, the child will sit and look droopy and sleepy. Whereas when you see a child full of energy, the child is on the go. The child is playing and having a nice time. So this carbohydrate is one of the main sources of energy. Now we move on to our fats and oil. You may not see fats and oil in my garden, but fats you're talking about like oil, butter, margarine, all of those things. It provides the main source for our fat-soluble vitamins. And the fat-soluble vitamins are important in the function of our organs. Fat provides warmth. The fat that you're on the skin naturally helps your skin to be supple and smooth. It also helps your hair, so it helps your entire body, it helps your skin, it works with your skin, it helps you have nice, smooth, supple skin. Now we are going on to our vitamins. The vitamin exists in two forms. You have fat-soluble vitamins and you have the water-soluble vitamins. As the word suggests, the water-soluble vitamins, you would find that like the vitamin B and vitamin C, you'll find vitamin C in your fruits and your vegetables, mainly like citrus and so forth. The other vitamin, which is ADEC, those are the fat-soluble vitamins. You'll find it in all your cheese, all your fat-related food. And the vitamin and the minerals tend to work together. They work to facilitate the maintenance of different organs in the body. Your vegetables are the main source of your vitamins and your minerals. Like right here you have your cauliflower, green leafy vegetables, and the tomato. Tomato is a good source of vitamin C. And this vitamin is also good for your skin. Like the fat, it's also good for your skin. Years ago, when they found out the main function of vitamin C when men went to sea and they couldn't get fresh roots and vegetables, a lot of them developed scurvy. And they realized that this was one of the main things that was lacking in their diet. So tomato, and I don't mean tomato, I mean vitamin C was lacking in their diet, and that was the cause. So vitamin C helps prevent scurvy, and it helps to maintain skin. Now I'm leaving my garden and I'm entering my kitchen. When you have your garden, you pick your things. There are times when you have things in excess. After you're given to your neighbors, your friends, and you may even have sold a couple, you still have excess. Now, today's program is basically how are we going to be dealing with that excess. So today we'll be dealing with preservation. There are a number of methods of preservation. You can preserve by using sugar, by using acid. You control your pH balance. You can preserve by controlling your temperature, and you can also preserve by drying. Now today we are going to be featuring a number of the items, and we'll be doing a demonstration on some of them to show you how you can utilize what you grow in your garden. Now preservation is important because it improves the shelf life of your thing. If you reap, say, a tomato and you have it on your counter and you leave it for a couple of days, you may find that it breaks down and it rots. However, if you had preserved that tomato, you can have it for months, for months long. So therefore, preservation extends the shelf life. Now, before I actually go into what I am doing, there's another point that I would like to identify. We're talking about preservation and we're talking about value added. There are times you can use them interchangeably, because what happens is when you preserve the product, you're actually adding value. So one relates to the other. The methods of preservation, basically, you have temperature control where you can freeze. That it is a temperature that is going to control the microorganism growth. You have removal of moisture, which is drying. Now, where drying is concerned, you can simply dry, or you can go a step further and dry and mill, where you get a flour. For instance, if you're using your staples. You also have chemical control, where you add chemicals to deal with the growth of microorganisms. In that case, you may be using acids like vinegar, or you may use things like sodium metabisulfite. It stops oxidization, so therefore your food doesn't become black. The food stays longer, and when it is finished, it has a nice clean white color. Using sugar to preserve. Now you can do your jams, you can do your jellies, you can do your syrups. There are other things that you can do using sugar where you combine different preservation techniques. For instance, you can also combine the sugar with a drying process. But right now, specifically what we'll be doing is we'll be working with jams and jellies. The first thing we're going to be doing is drying, which is the easiest one. Because in a country like Jamaica, we have the sunshine, and drying is one of the easiest things that comes to mind. All you need is the right environment. For instance, it is not sanitary to just put your thing outside to dry, because it's exposed to everything that's in the atmosphere. But if you prepare the right area, you can dry your thing quite easily. Right here I have a bag of sorrel. Now, all this can be done dried in the sun. You prepare a container, and on that container, for instance, you have a metal sheeting. On that metal sheeting, you put a piece of mesh and you spread your sorrel on it. Now, the reason why you would put the mesh on the metal sheeting, because there's going to be a little space underneath there. So what it does is it allows room for air to pass through. So your sorrel, your food item, whatever you're drying, the chance of it getting moldy is less because you have air circulating. Now, when you put it in an area, what you can do is periodically you go there and you turn it. You put you turn it, so what's at the bottom comes to the top, and you allow your thing to dry. If you are not somebody that, and at the end of the day, this is what you'll get something like this, and it's for something like sorrel. If at the end of the day you are not at home to utilize the sun, what you can do is put it in your oven, light your pilot, and you leave it there, and when you come home you can do your turning, and the pilot itself will keep it, will remove the moisture from it, and over a period of 3-4 days you will have your dried salt, because you must remember, because the flame is extremely low, it's going to take a little time. So if you don't have the sun available, like you're at work and you cannot monitor it, you can use your pilot in the house. Now when it comes to your food items, say for instance you are drying some, it's mango time and you're drying your mangoes. What happens is you slice your mango, you make a little solution, you can make a little sugar solution, and you put a little lime juice in it. What the lime juice does is it helps to keep the color of the mango. So when it dries, it's nice and pretty. Now after you have done that, you take it out of the sugar solution and use the same apparatus that I told you about, and you can put it in the sun. The thing is, when you're putting it in the sun now, because the mango itself is a bit moist and sticky, you would cover that with a thin plastic covering. So therefore, things flying all over the place, you would get rid of that. So in terms of sanitation, your thing is sanitized. And again, you can also use that, you can also use a oven, the pilot in the oven, to dry your thing if you are not able to monitor what you have on the outside. Or from the home situation, you can make a homemade dryer. All you need is a black box. Now in that black box, you have the metal sheeting, and you put the mesh on the metal sheeting. Then you cover that black box with a thin plastic, and that is your homemade solar dryer. You have it outside. Your black box, you're going to have that painted in black, so it absorbs the heat from the sun rays, and then the inside will be nice and shiny to reflect that, so you will get that heat being utilized in there. And you use that means as a homemade dryer, homemade solar dryer, if you're not outside on a daily on a timely basis to change, and you can check it in the evening when you come home. In terms of drying, you can go a step further. After drying, say your food items, your breadfruit, your yam, your starchy food, you can go a step further by milling it, or old time people would beat it in mortar. And at the end of the day, when you finish with that, you get a flour. They would dry it until it's nice and crisp. Now when I say nice and crisp, I mean when you break it, it doesn't fold, but it breaks with a pop, because all the moisture has been removed. And that old times we usually mill it, beat it in a mortar to get the flour. But at this, mortars tend to be of the old. So now what persons do, after they have their dried product, they mill it and they get their flour. And when you can incorporate this flour into your dumpling to get more nutrients from it, rather than the plain white flour. And this, like this banana here, is suitable for porridge. You can put it in your cookies, and it's suitable for cake making. Well, if you have your products that you have dried using your sun or your situation in your kitchen, and you have nowhere of getting it milled, there are a number of places you can go. One particular place is Scientific Research Council, the SRC, and that's off Hollow Road in Kingston. And that is done at a price. There's one point that I would like to identify. Some of these preservation methods that you will learn, they are very helpful in the house, because what it helps you to utilize what you have. Now, it is a fact that after you have preserved your food item, you actually lose some of the nutrients that are available in the food. But there's one saying that I tell everybody: it's better to lose some and consume some than not to have taken in any at all. Therefore, when you utilize all that you have, all that you would have thrown away, utilize everything, you can it's an easy way to earn an additional income. You can do your own thing. You can supplement your family at home, and you can get an additional income. It can be the start to a new business, a new life. Now, right here, another method is fermentation. The other method that was mentioned, fermentation. No, this is one that I like. And the reason why I like this, because this is the simplest and the easiest of all methods. Let me tell you why. And apart from that, your end product is nice. Everybody likes a little alcohol. Now, the thing with this is, You preserve your fruits. No, all fruits can make a wine. You preserve your fruits. And all you need is sugar and some yeast. The simple process is you make a juice. You have a juice. And you dissolve your sugar in your juice. Then you add your yeast to that mixture. Now after you add your yeast, you close your container away and you leave it there for 3 weeks and fermentation occurs. That is, alcohol is made and CO2 is given off. At the end of that, you are going to pour off what you have. This wine we have here is a wine in the settling process. This wine is a herbal wine. It's Guinea hen to be exact. It's a herb. This wine is just 2 months old, 2 to 3 months old, so it's basically in the settling process. So it has quite a bit of way to go because we would like at the end of the day it looks like this, clear. It's clear. You can see through it. It's clear. Now, we spoke earlier on about allowing fermentation for 3 weeks. With the mechanism, things change, technology change. Now, over the years, they're doing new things in terms of wine production, homemade wine production. Right here we have a little bucket. That what this does is it can shorten the time that you. This is part of a kit. This is part of a kit that has additional items like yeast nutrients, where you add that to your wine to feed the yeast. Because remember, if the yeast is not alive, you will not get wine. The yeast has to be alive to feed on the sugar so that it produces the alcohol. So you have additional things in it that encourages a more consistent wine. Therefore, if you're making your wine every day, the consistency increase. With the method that I told you earlier, and that's more a home situation. Now with this here, this is a bucket that comes with the new kit. You can create a little bucket of your own here. What it has is a little pipe here, and it has an opening here where you can make a plug and set up a little tube here. Now what happens is, after you set your wine in this, what happens when the wine is giving off the CO2 and producing the alcohol, you pour water in here. Now after you when you pour water in here, the water stays in this tube. Alright. When you set your wine in here, you have your juice with your yeast and the whole thing is set there for fermentation. When the fermentation is taking place and the CO2 is being given off, there's a little cap that goes on this to prevent anything from going inside there. But what happens when the fermentation is happening and the CO2 is being given off, you see the bubbles coming up here. You see the bubbles coming up, so you know fermentation is in swing, things going on, things cooking. So, however, if the fermentation is complete before the 3 weeks, you also know. Because what happened is the bubbles stop moving. So you know fermentation done. Nothing else is happening in here. So you can throw off your wine at this time. So this is basically technology being improved on. Now, wine making, as I said, you can make anything with your wine. You can use your fruits, you can use your vegetables, you can use rice wine. Now, you can also use herbs. And that's an interesting one, herb, because right here we have an aloe vera wine. And persons usually turn up their nose saying that, oh Lord, it's bitter, it's bitter. But the important thing is to find out where on the aloe vera is bitter. It is the skin and that yellow slime that runs out, that smelly thing that runs out. That is what is actually bitter, right? But if you use the gel alone, the gel, blend your gel, make your juice, add your yeast, put it away and leave it to ferment, you get a lovely clear wine at the end of the day. Now in winemaking, it is best to use granulated sugar. Now let me explain. Say for instance we have aloe vera here. Aloe vera, the gel itself is clear. All right. So you're preserving everything. You're preserving the taste. You're preserving the color. Now, if I put brown sugar into this, what happens is that dark sugar has a taste of its own. So it will it will mask the real taste of the aloe vera. If I am making pineapple wine and I add dark sugar to it, it will hide the color. It won't be that pretty yellow, and it will hide the real taste because dark sugar in itself has a flavor of its own. So the best sugar to use for wine making is granulated sugar. You get a clearer and a prettier wine when you're finished. Let me explain. Let me go further. However, if you're making like your herbal wine and you want to be all earthy and natural and you want to go closer to the real thing, then you may go into using the dark sugar. But for like your just nice fruit wine to drink, the best wine sugar to use is granulated sugar. Now here I'm going to sample my wine, and now let me tell you something. Not because I'm the one that made it, it is good. It is going to be good. Yes, man, I'm telling you, it's nice and it's quite smooth because trust me, this wine is over a year old, so it's quite smooth, nice going all the way down. It gives you that warm, nice feeling. And this is coming from my own backyard garden. And likewise, for aloe vera, you can use tuna, the same thing. Another thing you can do to prepare unique stuff that's in your home bar, you can make your liqueurs. You can make your liqueurs from your own garden, utilizing your fruits. Right here we have a pineapple liqueur. The difference with this and the wine is, whereas you make the alcohol here, the difference with the liqueur is that you add the alcohol, because this, what happens is you add the rum to the fruit. And the rum itself, what it does, it extracts the flavor from the fruit. And that liquid that liquid, after you throw off the liquid, that liquid is sweetened, and that is what you get as a liqueur. So the method is, you have your fruits, you wash your fruits, you peel, you cut up your fruits, you pour your rum on the fruits, and the rum extracts the flavor. Now you leave it for like 24 hours, then you throw off your rum, and you sweeten that, and that is your liqueur. You can add little tubes of water and a little lime juice to give it a little tang to balance that sweet taste. But that is your liqueur. And this also makes a refreshing drinks, good on ice. Good on ice for your parties. And again, this is coming from your backyard garden. No extra cost. Just a nice homely feeling. On the point of chemical, this is not one that is readily available for the home. So I'm just giving you the process. It's a situation where you make a solution with sodium metabisulfite. You dip your foodstuff in it. Now, these foods are like yam, banana, those things that oxidize easily, that becomes black, right? You dip it in your metabisulfite, and then now you do your blanching and you freeze. So what the metabisulfite, it retards the whole oxidation process, and it keeps your food looking nice and fresh. Now, in terms of we using acid to preserve, what simple way which has come through the years, we have learned from our grandparents coming right up, is a simple thing of making pickles. Acid is used. Vinegar. Some person may not even remember that vinegar is an acid, but it is an acid. We use vinegar to make pickles, where you preserve your peppers, you preserve your carrots, you preserve your chocho, and you can also put in a strip of beet in it, your sweet peppers and your onions, and you have you have a nice pickle. And persons put like pimento in it, but it's advisable that you don't put a lot in it, because what pimento does is, after a while, it tends to allow the whole liquid in here to become dark. So using a couple seeds for flavor and to help preserve it is fine, but not a lot. And this is vinegar. The thing is, the trick to preservation is, whatever you are doing, the key is you should always sterilize your thing. Sanitation is a key in all aspects of preservation. Sterilization is key. So if you sterilize your thing to the best of your ability, and your container and your surrounding is not clean, the things won't last long. So your bottles should be properly boiled, and everything should be clean. If it's a bottle that you're using, that was one that you're reusing, you ensure that you use a brush to wash all the little corners to ensure that everything comes out. And you do the same for the cap, but everything should come out so that you can increase the shelf life of whatever it is that you're preserving. Now, This is, as I said, this is pepper and vinegar with other seasoning added. No, this is called hot pepper pickle. Now we can go a step further. We can make a bread and butter pickle. Now the bread and butter pickle, this is vinegar, but it is vinegar with sugar. So the vinegar, sugar is added to the vinegar to give that sweetened flavor. I know that sweet relish, that same sweet relish taste that you get from that sweet relish that you add to your hot dogs. This is the same, basically the same flavor you get here. Sugar and the vinegar, and you can spice up this from your backyard. Now, but you see what happened is my peppers and everything were out, so therefore I couldn't add any peppers in it. But you could add your little sweet pepper in here. You could add a piece of carrot and all of those things to make your thing look pretty and attractive. And you add it to your sterilized bottle with your cucumber. You can chop it finer if you want something like a spread. But like this now, you just add this to a hot dog or to a cheese sandwich, a beef sandwich, and you're ready to go. These things that you preserve makes lovely gifts. So it's not just a home thing, it can go far and wide. They make lovely gifts. Now we're moving on to using sugar as our main item of preserving food. We're going to be talking about jams, jellies, and marmalade. Now, there's a difference. When you're making your jam, you use the pulp of the fruit. You use the food of the fruit. When you're using your jelly, when you're making your jelly, you use the juice of the fruit. When you use a marmalade, use a combination and you include the rind. So you know you get that sour taste that comes from the rind. So your jelly is going to be clear, whereas your jam is going to look grainy and foody. Your jelly will have a clearer look. Years gone by, persons used to just make guava jelly. No, you can do it. Use any fruit can make jelly. The important thing is that guava has a natural chemical in it that is called pectin. Now that is the chemical that causes the jam to be jam. That is what causes the jam to cut, so to speak. Now, there are some fruits that doesn't have that chemical naturally. So therefore, when you are making jam, if you don't add pectin, what you'll have to be doing is boiling for a long time. And what will happen is that the sugar will actually caramelize, and that it is that tightening that causes you to think that you are getting a real jam when it's actually the sugar at work and not the pectin, because the fruit itself doesn't have pectin. Let me give you an example. If you're making a guava jam, a mango jam, and a pineapple jam, guava is the only one that has pectin. What happens is, when the jams finish making, you'll have the guava jam would have set quite a bit early because that has pectin, but the other two would be basically the same color at the end of the day. Because what happens is, it is the sugar that caramelizes that is going to tighten up and give you that gel, not the fruit itself. So you're going to get a sugary taste and you're going to get an off color. So when you're using fruits that doesn't have pectin, like your pawpaw, your pineapple, your mango, it is best to add commercial pectin. Now, you can get your commercial pectin at the shop. The commercial pectin can be in the form of powder, or it can be in the form of liquid. When it is in the form of powder, what you do is that you add the powder directly to the sugar. This is the powder, and you add the powder directly to the sugar, and then you add that to your solution that's actually boiling. If you are using the liquid, then you can add the liquid to your pot that is actually cooking on the fire. No, persons tend to feel that when you're making jams and those things, you can use any old fruit. It is important that when you're choosing your fruit, you choose fruit that are in good condition. How sensible is it to choose fruit that already start decaying? You would actually be transmitting something to your food that you don't really want. So you choose clean and fresh food. If it's something that has a scar, you cut around the area and get rid of what you need to get rid of, but you use food that is clean and food that has not started to decay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put the pot to boil. This is pawpaw. Pawpaw, and it started doing a little boiling some time ago. So the process shouldn't be very long. What I have here, I have a pawpaw jam ready. Now pawpaw is one of the fruit that has no pectin. So what happens when you're also making jam, one key thing to remember is when you blend your fruit, whether you're using fruit or vegetable, it is advisable that you use as little water as possible. For instance, when I blended this pawpaw, I didn't use any water because pawpaw itself has a lot of water. So you don't need to use any water. So you're going to just put this here to boil for a short period, maybe 10 minutes, right? Because I'll be using my pectin. So when it starts boiling, you give it about 10 minutes so it can lose any excess water that's already in the mixture there. Because what I did was you add a little lime juice to the mixture to give it a little flavor. So you add your lime juice here. Now, as I said, pawpaw itself has no pectin. So therefore, we have our commercial pectin here. So what I am going to do is, I'm going to add my sugar to my pectin. Yeah, it should go in here. You combine this. Now let me explain why this has to happen. When you combine your sugar with your pectin with your sugar, it's like you just pouring starch in a pot of hot water. It coagulates and come together and you get lumps. So you don't want that to happen. So you combine your sugar with the pectin. And that now, this is what you're going to add to your pureed food that you have here. Now, my basic recipe for making a jam is, I call it the PP recipe because it's a pound to a pint. Right here I have a pint of puree, a pint of pawpaw puree, and I added 2 tablespoons of lime juice. So it's a pint of puree. Now all I am going to do now is I'm going to add my pound of sugar. So it's a pound to a pint. All peas, you can't forget, it's easy recipe. A pound to a pint, and you're going to do your stirring. So you're going to be dissolving your sugar, and remember your pectin is in there. So you're going to dissolve, let that dissolve, and then it's going to boil and thicken. And when it starts thickening, what will happen is you will start feeling the heaviness in the turn. The spoon itself will start feeling heavy because the liquid will be getting a bit heavy. Now, it is important to know that you have, when you're making jam, don't make jam and you don't have time that you're going to be doing things in a hurry, because what happens is time is important here because you have to know when you're going to take it off. You don't want to take it off too quick and at the end of the day you have something that's all running that's not really a jam. You're going to take it off at the right time, and that way you're going to do your food test, your spoon test. You're going to get a spoon, you're going to get a spoon and you have a little cold water in it, and you drop a little of the mixture in here. Well, this is not ready because you can actually see where the particles are breaking up. So the test is ready when you put a drop of the liquid in here and it stays together in a ball. Comes together in a ball, you know that it is ready and you can actually throw it out in your bottle. No, then you throw it in your sterilized bottle, your bottle that has been sterilized. You throw it in your sterilized bottle and you close it, and your jam is ready. And when you close it hot, and you don't have to be afraid of it being hot, because what happens is when you're ready for your jam and everything is cool and you take it off, because it was closed hot, when you open it you get that pop. So everything has been under pressure. So in terms of keeping everything, because remember everything was sterilized already now, and it's a hot thing, so heat and everything is doing its work. You get your product is basically ready. Your product is ready, and you can sit and have your crackers and your jam and have it all, have a nice little snack.
Yeah, ready?
In terms of sugar, you can also make syrups. Like right here, you have a little fruit, similar to a fruit cocktail. It's apple balls. Or Tahiti apple or Jamaican local apple. But it's in a syrup. So you can, if you're having ice cream, you can put a little a piece on top. Or you can just have it as is. And you can do any fruit like this. You can do your pineapples, you can do your banana, any fruit. You can make a nice little cocktail and you bottle it, and you can have it ready, and it's served extremely long time. Jam is about ready. We are going to do our test. And you can also do a little judging. You can see from the tightness of the bubbles whether or not your jam will be runny. But as I said, sometimes it takes a bit of experience. So we are going to do our test. Oh yes, right here you can see that this is ready. This is ready. It's not runny, it stays together. It's ready. So we have our bottles that has been sterilized. And remember, you have to work fast because the longer it stays on the fire, the harder it becomes. And if you turn off your fire, you may get it cold and get it starts to harden up on the pot. So you don't want that. So therefore we're going to pour. See, nice, and you see how pretty it is. And this is pawpaw. You see how pretty this is. The pectin was added, so therefore the boiling time was very short. So therefore, in terms of caramelization, that was nil. So the color is nice and pretty. That's the color of pawpaw. I'm sure you wouldn't mistake that for any other fruit. Maybe an orange, but this is pawpaw, nice and clear. And let me tell you something. When you are doing your preserves, when you have your garden, there are times when you have things in real excess. Let me tell you something. You can add a little jam to your cakes. You have plenty jams and you want to use up your jams. You can add the jams to your cake. Make a cake, and when the cake is ready to go in, you just drop a little jam in the middle. So therefore it acts as a raisin. When the cake sets, man, you can call it pawpaw in the middle. That's a new cake. That's your cake. Pawpaw in the middle. You cut your cake, you get a piece of pawpaw right in the middle. Now, as you see, we're applying the jam, but please remember, the jam is still hot. So therefore, it doesn't have that cutting edge. It has to get cold. But you can taste it. When you have children and you're doing things in a rush, sometimes you actually do this. And that is when your backyard garden really comes in handy. Come in and have a pawpaw jam on crackers.
This is really curious. What is it?
That's pawpaw jam.
Papaya jam.
Yeah, right.
Never had papaya jam before. It's very nice.
Thank you very much.
How do you make papaya jam?
It's basically you have your juice. This has a little difference because what I did is I put a little ginger in it because I find that ginger tends to give things a kick.
Can anyone make papaya jam?
Anybody can make papaya jam. All you need is your pectin, your pawpaw, sugar, and your lime juice. And of course your stove when you're ready to go.
Do you think my children will like this?
Yes, they will.
Great. Thank you very much. It's very nice.
You're welcome. I have an example here of a fruit in syrup. This is pineapple in syrup, and this was done over a year. And you see the color is still there. You have no doubt that it's pineapple. So if you do your preservation properly, if you do your sterilization, and you prepare your area properly, your items can last quite a bit. If you remembered, when I started, I said that in days gone by, person tend to feel that jam is guava. Well, no. Persons are using everything to make jam. Right here we have a tomato. Not a jam exactly, a jelly. But you can do jam. You can go the way of a jam too. You have a tomato jelly. And you can spice it up by putting a little pepper. Because let me tell you something. You have a basic recipe to use. But persons have their likes and their dislikes. For me, for example, I tell you that I like ginger. So I tend to add a little ginger to my things to spice up. So therefore, even if I get a basic recipe, I feel that ginger will give it a kick. And it usually does. So I add a little ginger to it. Persons see where this is favorable and they add a little pepper. You can add a little pepper to your jelly depending on the type of jelly it is. And it makes a good combination. So right here you have pepper jelly, and it's tomato pepper jelly. And if you remember, it is the juice that is used here and not the food itself from the tomato. So therefore, what you would do is pour the contents in a muslin bag or a strainer, and you leave it there to drip through. So you'd have, for instance, say I'm doing guava jelly. I would boil my guava in some, cut it up, clean it up, do all the cleaning up, boil it in the water. And after I do that, I would pour it, have a muslin bag. All you want is the juice. And you leave it there to drip, drip, drip. And it is that juice that you're going to boil. You have a nice clear jelly because you don't have the body of the food to form a cloud. The preservation techniques that you use, you can combine them or you can use them by themselves. You can be creative to get different products. For instance, what I have here is orange peel, basic orange peel. That after you peel your orange, you would throw it away. But what they say, what is another man garbage is another man riches. Because this orange peel has been dried and this orange peel has been milled, and this now is a product. And let me tell you something, don't take this as simple as you see it, but this product is one that is very marketable, because as a housewife I can tell you that I would buy this any day, because when I'm making my orange cake, it's readily available. My orange flavor is there, I just sprinkle, it's there. When I'm seasoning, when I'm looking after my meat, if it's a bit on the raw side and I want to get rid of that, I sprinkle it, I wash my meat, and what's it so nice too? It will add a little flavor to the meat. So therefore, this is a product that's readily available, readily marketable. And as I said, this is your orange peel. You dry it and you mill it, and it is a product. Now, another item I have here that was done through drying is busy, or or local cola nut. It is said that it's an antidote for poisoning. So the thing about the busy is that the busy is extremely hard. It's tough. So what some persons do is that they grate it when it is green, and then they dry it. Because it is so hard it's so hard to grate. They grate it when it's green and then they dry it, and they have a product here. This is a product here. This makes a lovely tea. And as I said, it is used as a home remedy for poisoning. And I don't mean them big thing that if you anything happens, you need to go to the hospital. You must always refer to your doctor. But for basic home remedy, this is used for poisoning. This is also busy. But whereas this is grated, this was milled. So you're getting a different product here. You're getting a nice, refined thing, whereas this was grated. We're still on sugar here. This is a basic stew. For instance, you can do this with your mangoes. And this is tamarind. This tamarind can stay for months, because the sugar itself acts as a means of preservative. Years ago, when you were going to school, they used to do it at the school gates, and they used to call it tamarind bap bap. No, this is a means of keeping your tamarind going for months. At the end, you take from this and you make a drink, or you can take from this and, as I said, you can add a little tot to ice cream, or you can just sit and eat with a spoon and have a nice time. Now, this is our local apple, Otoiti apple. It's a way of utilizing what we have. But normally, apple is just in the bushes growing and just drop on a bird, just eat it, and you're just going to pick it off a tree and eat it. Or you may use it in a drink. This is a way to utilize your apple. And it is a combination of methods. You use both the sugar, you use sugar to preserve it, and you also go a step further by drying. What is done is the apple is cooked in a syrup, and it is later dehydrated. This what it looks like. So you can use this in your fruit. You can use this to bake your cake. You can have this if you want to make this more interesting. You can add your peanuts and your peanuts to that, and a little oats, and you just have a little snack pack. Or you can add it to your cereal in the morning. So this is another way. This is another way you can utilize what you have in your garden. The guava cheese is one of our traditional items. No, this is similar to the jam. In fact, one would say it's a more concentrated form of jam, whereas the jam would be such that it can spread easily. This is a little bit more difficult to spread, but it's the same basic concept. It's just that it's more concentrated. You can just have it as a sweet. You can just have it, bite a piece, just to get a little buzz, a little sugar, and it's good to go. This one is a bit interesting. Let me tell you why. Because we speak of sugar, we speak of using sugar, and we speak of using acid. But this is a combination of sugar and acid. Because the chutney is sweet and it's savory. So therefore you have garlic in it, you have onion, you have raisins, you have the sorrel, everything is blended, it's chopped up or blended. No, as I said, you can have this on your hot dog, or you can just have it on a cracker depending on your taste. But it's sweet and it's savory. And depending on your taste, you can make it with a little fire. You can put a little more pepper in it, depending on what you like. So it's a bit of both. And it goes very well. And let me tell you something, you can get this from one sorrel tree. Because sorrel tends to come together quite, it's basically water. It's basically water. But you can, if nowadays with the bashment sorrel, that tree that grows on and you cut and you go back and you cut and you go back, you can get enough sorrel to make a chutney. So this can come from your backyard garden. And as I said, this is basically from the bashment tree. That's a new variety of sorrel. Now, there's one thing I want to identify in the drying of the sorrel. We spoke about drying earlier on. This, let me show you just what you're looking at. This here is half pound of sorrel. Now, half pound of dried sorrel is roughly 4 pounds of green sorrel. So you can have an idea what you will get from your garden. And this will last an extremely long time. If you have friends overseas, you can take it over there. It can last very long. It makes a wonderful tea. And as I say, it's good. It makes a lovely drink. We're moving on to freezing, where we're actually going to work with temperature as a mean of controlling the growth of microorganisms. You hear the word freezing, but before you actually freeze, you actually put your vegetables, and right here we have carrot and string beans. We are going to freeze this, so therefore we can utilize this later on. We can utilize it in our meat. We can include it in our meat, or we can just add it as part of our vegetable with our main course. Now, first thing you do, you have your vegetables and you clean up your vegetables. You get rid of all dirt and everything there, and you cut it in the shapes that you want. Then you're going to have your pot on your fire where you're going to get the water boiling. Now let me tell you how this works. When the water is boiled, you're going to do some blanching. Now this blanching is going to kill all of the little fellows that is running up on there that you can't see, get rid of some of the microorganisms. So it kills them. And this aids in the life of your vegetable here. Now, after you dip this in the boiling water, you are going to let it stay there 2-3 minutes, because what happens is you're not trying to cook your vegetable. You're just giving it a little time to kill the microorganisms. So it may be get a little tupsa cook, a little par cooking, but not to be properly cooked. So here we have our boiling water. We are going to add our vegetable. Now we have our blanched vegetable. Now be careful. Remember, the pot is hot, so you're going to use your mitten, your oven mitten, or your pot holder to ensure that you don't hurt yourself. And pull your away from the steam to ensure that the steam itself, because remember, steam can burn and you can have another problem on your hand. So you pour off the hot water, and what you're going to do now, you're going to pour your vegetables into your ice cold water, as I said, from one extreme to another. Let that stay there, and what is going to happen is that the cold water will stop all the cooking right away, and then we are basically on our way to freezing. One step to go, but we're almost there. So we are going to get rid of this water now. It's nice and cool now. we're going to get rid of the water, and we're going one step further. Now, after you have gotten rid of this ice water, shake off all your excess water here. That's how useful the colander is. Shake off your excess water. I have made myself a little area on my counter where I use the towel. It's my means, it's absorbent. The towel is absorbent. So I'm using to absorb all excess water that is on the vegetable. Nice clean area. You can fold it and give it more than one fold to ensure that the water it's not runny. And you spread out your vegetable, and you remember your area should be clean because you don't want to transmit any bacteria from one area to your clean vegetables now. And you do this, you get rid of all of the excess water, and you have your ziplock. I'm getting a little tongue tied. Ziplock bag, and you're ready to bag. Now let me tell you, this dampening of getting rid of the excess water is important, because what happens is when it goes in the freezer, remember, the preservation doesn't keep the nutrient 100% intact. It will break down a bit. So any excess water you have there, it will break down, it will soften the tissues of the vegetable. So you get rid of as much of the water as possible. And then you are ready to package. You pack. And it's nice to use a Ziploc bag where you can take some from it and close back your bag, and you put in your fridge, and you're ready good. This is ready for the refrigerator. When you blanch your vegetable, you can actually see a difference in the color before and after. The vegetable before blanching has a dull look, whereas after it has been blanched, it looks nice and bright. So even the color change, there's a color change when you're finished the blanching process. And as I said, that in itself helps the life of the vegetable. In preservation, there are certain do's and don'ts. It is the general idea that, okay, when I have my garden, whatever I am going to throw away, I can preserve. This concept is not necessarily proper, is not necessarily correct. Reason being, you do not use what you know it starts to break down. So whatever you're using, you ensure that the condition is good. If the fruits are slightly bruised, you cut around the area and you remove the damaged area. You are supposed to use fruits that are in good condition. Secondly, your work area should be cleaned. Your work area shouldn't have things that will promote the growth of microorganisms that will cause the life of your thing to decrease. So your work area should be cleaned. You should ensure that whatever you're using is properly sterilized. It should be sterilized because that in itself will ensure that life is added to your product. You yourself should be in good order in terms of cleanliness. Your nails should be clean. You shouldn't be in a situation where you can transmit germs to whatever it is you're doing, even to the bottle that you're going to be throwing out. If you're reusing your bottles, you should ensure that it should be properly sterilized. All the little crevices and corners should be cleaned, because one speck can cause a whole lot of problem. And it's important to remember that bacteria is not something that you can see with your bare eyes. So cleanliness is of utmost importance. And the products that you use should, as I said, I mentioned clean before, but you should ensure that all dirt, everything is removed. And let me tell you something, this is not only in your preservation, it also helps in your storage, general storage of your food. That increases the shelf life. For instance, if you take a tomato and put it in the fridge, it's a whole heap of dirt that can cause a whole heap of buildup of bacteria. The life will decrease. So the entire sanitation is important in all aspects. This ends our talk on preservation. I hope you have learned a lot, and I hope the information will be beneficial to your family and your society as a whole as you use all that you have in your backyard garden.